Welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast.
I'm Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sansbury.
Joining you live from the Portsmouth Guildhall. 24 local elections. There is counting for the police and crime. Those results until tomorrow. In fact, I don't think the count starts until tomorrow. So there's myself and Simon here. A mass of leads, wires, plugs and sockets. And Simon is just sat gently rocking somewhere to the left of me. How are you, Simon?
I'm okay. I'm just ferociously trying to plug things in.
This is excellent. So we are here at the count, and we've been joined by a few guests early, a few off-the-record comments early. And the most notable thing at the moment about this year's election is the turnout could be described as woeful. There are many wards where the expectation is the turnout is going to be closer or even sub 20%. Compared to last year, I think it was around the 29% mark. So, it does appear that there is quite a high degree of apathy for these elections, and until we get the results, we're not quite sure whether that's going to favour one particular party or not. We are already getting word. There are some of the local folk who've come and spoken to us that our musings on the prediction show about Fratton being potentially a three-way race. We're embiggened by the fact that the first three boxes that have been opened, one was won by Pip, one was won by Labour, and one was won by the Lib Dems. So it's looking like our prediction there is spot on. The word from Drayton and Farlington, which again we both predicted to be a Pip win, is that everything there is very tight. There is still a chance that the Conservatives might hold that one. Although the mood coming out of the Conservative camp at the moment is not wildly optimistic that they are going to retain any of their seats this year. So as the count starts to unfold, we'll bring you the results as they come. There are lots of folk milling about. We've had a few. We've had the Lord Mayor come and have a chat to us, Councillor Tom Coles. Those of you that have been following the podcast for a number of years will know that Jerry the Inquisitor Brown is a regular here overseeing the count, and he also does his bit during the day, cycling from polling station to polling station just to see what's going on. And his message coming back to us is from virtually every polling station he visited, is that it is the quietest election that anybody involved with local Portsmouth politics has seen. So we're expecting a low turnout at the moment. Our original prediction was that we would be getting the first results around 2 a.m. We'd like to thank Scott Pater Harris for running about in a panic, telling us that, oh no, it's all going to be earlier. So we're here, we're set up, we're running. At the moment, we've spoken to one of the returning officers who still isn't sure, because there is the complexity of the first act for all of the people working here tonight is the validation of both the Police and Crime Commissioner and the local election ballots. Now, for those of you that cast your votes today, and well done if you did, you will know that there was a purple and a green ballot paper, or was it purple and yellow? I'm not, obviously colour's not my strong point, but they're two different colours, so effectively all boxes will be opened to make sure that there are no purple ones in the green box or green ones in the purple box. So that's the first act, and then as soon as that's done, then we will be on to the final count. For those of you who are struggling to sleep and thinking, well, if Ian's just going to ramble on for the next hour, I'm not going to get to hear the results, then we will probably mute the mics at some point fairly soon, and we will be up and running again when we either get a guest or whether there's a rush of activity as the first results are due to be announced. How's it looking over there, Simon? How's you plugging in? Have you
making progress? Making progress.
We've
nearly got the mic set up for the guests. Make it a bit easier than it was last year. But yeah, we're very, very nearly there. Thanks, Scott, for the tip.
Yeah, so we are all set up. There is a sense of anticipation. Now, local leader of the Portsmouth Independent Party, George Madrick, is known for being famously a slightly fraught animal, as he's confessed to ourselves on count night, but we've spoken to him already. He appears pretty chipper. Most are predicting a very good night for Pip. He at the moment is already confidently declaring 3 wins. I think there are some who are suggesting that 7 could be a possibility, which would be an astounding night for Pip. For those of you that followed along with the prediction show, you know that Simon predicted 6 wins for Pip, and I was a little less bullish and predicted 5. So as the results come in, we will let you know. We'll also keep an eye on what that might mean for the total number of council seats. We touched on it in the prediction show that there is a possibility that if both Labour have a good night in the south of the city and Pip have a particularly good night in the north, and perhaps even delve a little further south, there is a chance that between Labour and Pip, they could hold between them the magic 22 seats that would enable them, if they chose to work together, to form the next administration. Those of you that love a mathematical puzzle will probably have worked out that there is also a scenario where between them the Lib Dems and the Conservatives have 21 seats. Pip, Labour and the non-aligned independent councillors also end up with 21. And in that scenario, I don't know what sort of constitutional crisis that will mean. I usually leave those kind of technical things to Simon, and it appears we have a guest. Good evening.
I think we've got our first guest, which is none other than George Madrick.
Mr. Madrick, good evening.
How are we doing, guys?
Well, we are obviously. I've just mentioned to the listeners to the MMS, the Madrick Misery Scale, and this evening is looking pretty chipper, George. How are you feeling?
It's looking a lot better. I'm pretty confident to say we have won the 3 seats we thought we'd win, i.e. Paulsgrove, Hilsey and Copner. I think we've got a Hilsey gain, a Copner gain, and obviously me holding on to Paulsgrove.
You're back for another year.
Back for another few years, yeah. I know that every single time I win, I seem to only get a really short term. It's a bit unfair. Do you know, if I obviously win this year, which I think I have, and I have to stand in 2026 again, that means I had to win 3 times in 5 years. Isn't that crazy?
I think it's the fact you love the campaign. Now, we were saying that there's, Simon's very bullish. He had you down for 6. I was slightly less optimistic for you and had you down for 5. I think there's even some whispers that is 7 a possibility?
7 is a possibility. So the situation currently is that in Fratton, in Nelson, in Cosham, and in Drayton and Farlington, we're either winning by 50 or losing by 50. It's and we've got basically 2 or 3 more boxes to open on each one. And obviously we haven't counted it yet. When it's that close, you can't actually tell. You never actually know fully. I'm really quite positive about Cosham. I think we've done enough to nick Cosham, but once again, only maybe by 100. We were slightly losing in Drayton, but the last box that just opened, we definitely won. And we've got the next box that comes up is one that we are very